but so important that you had to blindfold me for 4 hours.
Ta-da!
Even though the sound of it is something quite atrocious, if you say it loud enough, you'll always have precocious. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Oh, hi-ho, everybody.
Gorge. I didn't watch Let Us Dance as a kid.
You fail.
That was probably the worst Donald Duck impression I've ever done.
Well, I did see the Donald Duck Nazi propaganda cartoon.
Alright, hello everyone. This is Crazy Crew. We're coming to you live from MagFest.
Want to know how you can tell this is MagFest?
Yes, I've had to deal with a lot of that this weekend. Well, we figured while we're here, we may as well do what we always do and watch a movie.
Yes.
And that movie was Saving Mr. Banks. And I just say this is one that I've been increasingly looking forward to for a while now, because when I first heard about it, I didn't really think much. I thought it was like boring documentary types or something.
That's what I thought too. I thought I looked at the trailers and I'm just like, it kind of revealed pretty much everything in the trailer. It's almost like, oh, I didn't really have to see it, but
Yeah, but on the other hand, though, the fact that they actually, hearing that Tom Hanks and Emma Thompson were going to be cast as Travers and as Walt Disney, it's like, there's probably more to this.
And also, I mean, personally, Mary Poppins, not only a very integral part of my childhood, but having an understanding of the story behind the making of the Mary Poppins movie is a story worth telling, because it honestly was a very intense production process. It's something that was worth making into a movie.
yeah.
I was kind of concerned on how much would be honest, because even though it was a very chaotic production of Mary Poppins, the fact that Saving Mr. Banks was a Disney film, I was kind of curious how much they would be getting away with, and they did a good job.
And also, it's also to the fact that it's Disney kind of making a history film about itself. So it's kind of almost like you want to say, like, because Disney always tries to sugarcoat everything.
Or sensationalized.
So, yes, and with this one, and I was kind of nervous about that. It's like, oh, because they could pretty much shape anything into how they want it to be for this film. Like they could have Walt Disney the way they want it and have everything, the way they want it to be. So here, like especially with the portrayal of Walt, because I mean, yes, he was this great creative genius, but on the other side, he was kind of a smoker and a lot of drinking. He smoked quite a bit.
He backstabbed
He's
a bit
backstabbed,
too.
yeah.
And everybody was concerned, like, how are they going to put that in the movie? How much are they going to, like, not show? That kind of
But
thing.
they brought it up. Even if it wasn't like a big thing, they did bring these things up.
At least they addressed the fact that he was a smoker, because I thought they were going to gloss that over, because with Disney being image conscious as it is, wouldn't like even so much as like mention him for smoking. But I'm glad to see that they sort of show him like putting it off to the side.
Yeah, they acknowledge it. They do acknowledge it.
Because that's a funny thing, is that if you look on Google and you look up Walt Disney like pictures and stuff, a lot of them are actually photoshopped with the cigarettes out of his hand. Because almost every picture that was taken with him, he had a cigarette in his hand, because that's how heavy a smoker he was. So I was glad that they at least referenced it.
But the one thing they didn't hide was the drinking. Like, I mean, but it wasn't heavy to the really heavy amount. It was just, it was either his
Social drinker.
Yes, that's what they were showing it. Like either he was holding a glass of something, or near the very end when he's talking to Travers in London, that kind of thing. It's just kind of just casually just thrown in there, and I mean that's fine, and that's
I think
fine.
it's the 60s,
Yeah, that is cool. Yeah.
It was common back then.
What I think I like a lot about this movie is the theme of compromise, because both of these guys, both P.L. Travers and Walt Disney were very like, they both had their goals, they both had their means. One P.L. Travers, she was the creator of this character who she truly loves. The other one is Walt Disney, who truly loves this character and wants to show how much he loves him in this film. And I like how that theme of the necessity of compromise in a creative medium was brought up.
Yes.
I just love how it turns into sort of a battle of wills.
To see who's going to give in.
Yeah, because you have P.L. Travers like doing her best to thwart Disney at every turn, make things as difficult and as complicated as possible. And then you have Walt Disney, who's pretty much forcing her to give into like her childlike instincts or bring out some sort of childlike quality in her in order to loosen her up and make her have fun. And it's just funny to see them both squirm whenever one has the other in the pun.
The dialogue felt kind of battle-like, almost in a weird kind of way.
It was passive aggressive battle.
Yeah.
Very passive aggressive. Although, I mean, when you think about it, though, Travers was not at all passive. She was
knew what she was doing.
outright aggressive.
Like, she didn't like something you say, she's like, no, it's not happening.
Yeah, she didn't give any bullshit to that, and I think Emma Thompson did a wonderful job with that.
Yeah, I think my favorite line of that was when, very early scene when the Sherman Brothers were showing her the first song, that they were saying responsible, and she's like, responsible's not a word, and they're like, we make it up. We made it up. It's like, so I'll make it up. And I'm like, I love that.
And then they just casually hide the supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
That was like, I think that was sort of the line that sort of gave the best idea of who P.L. Travers was as a character. Like, she was a very respectable person. She had a lot of dignity, a lot of class, and she was very forward with people.
And she's the bitch.
Yes.
But you see her over time sort of start to unravel a bit.
And it's not
like she starts to wear down her resistance just a bit.
And I like that it's not shown as a weakness.
No.
It's not shown as like, oh, she's starting to like weaken or anything. It's more like she's sort of coming to terms with things in her life.
She's starting to, let go of certain things in the past that have, kept her from living in the future.
And I think the movie does that really well, especially when they intertwine that with all the flashbacks, because like it really paces itself well between, what's going on at the present and what happened back then. And
Not to mention, it kind of you see a little bits and pieces as to where she got her ideas for Mary Poppins from these flashbacks.
I know, and it's interwoven very beautifully with it. It's like. It is like you're watching two films at the same time, but it's
two good films.
Yes, two good films at the same time. But the flashbacks were really well done. I really like that.
It's confusing in the very beginning when they start out with her as a little girl in Australia, and then cut to years later when she's going into the Disney. It's like, wait, what? But then you start to figure that, okay, this is what they're doing.
But they always
they
always do the flashbacks at the right moment.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, it's not like Man of Steel where you would cut abruptly from one to the other, and you'd have no concept of what time you're in and where you were, anything. Like this was like they were very strategic in where they put everything. It flowed nice.
Yes, it had a wonderful flow.
Yeah, and they always match the tone of both situations really well. Like the scenes where her father, gets drunk and then gets injured. At the same time where she in the present she gets all upset as the Sherman Brothers are performing this one song.
Yeah, they're performing the song with where they're like in the bank where the kids are in the bank with their father and the bank owners are like, no, you shouldn't give your
tuppence in the bank
instead of for the birds and that whole song. And that was perfect. The way they meshed that together, cutting in between from the use of the song and the scene cutting back to the flashback. Even they were using the exact same lines. It's like, I'm just like, I don't think they said it exactly, but
you get the idea.
But for the sake of the narrative, it works.
Yeah, you easily get the idea whether the pacing of it works to the letter or not. You get it. You get it. It works.
I think it's important to note. I mean, it's based on a true story. It's not 100% accurate. I think the most important thing to note is the ending, because that's honestly the biggest. The majority of the movie, it's relatively accurate. I'm honestly impressed with how accurate a lot of parts of it were, particularly with Neil Charles' life, her father's alcoholism, the different struggles the argument she had with Walt Disney, the fact that actually at the end of the movie they showed the real tapes.
I know, I like that. I'm just
I
like,
was hoping they would.
Yeah, but-
Once I heard that, that she wanted everything recorded, I'm like,
It's like,
okay, so
okay.
these must actually exist then.
And they did, but the ending is the biggest departure. And because in the ending of what really happened, not only did Walt Disney not invite her even though she requested to be invited to the premiere, Walt Disney just said, literally, I'm quoting him on this. Sorry, the ship has sailed. Kind of a dick move.
I honestly don't blame him though, given how difficult she was. I mean, would you really want to invite someone back, especially when you know what they're gonna say?
And you're worried about the
do,
press. And they
whatever?
mentioned that in the movie. They literally, what they have him say is there's going to be press and we don't want to worry about her bad mouthing the film because we do want this film to be successful, which is understandable. But in the movie, when she doesn't get invited, she literally goes back to the United States, goes in Walt Disney's office and says, I'm going, and then she sees the premiere and loves it.
but this is once again like Disney like taking liberties with itself and saying like, oh, as a putting a nice happy ending. As they always
But on the other hand, and to play devil's advocate, even if that's not the way it happened, it almost feels like basically the way her Traverse was, it definitely seems like something she would have done.
Yeah, so I wouldn't say it's a success in terms of like history or complete historical accuracy, but as a story about the importance of compromise when in a creative medium, I feel like the ending fits.
Yeah, that's why I can't complain too much about the ending because it works
kind
for the
of
sake of the narrative.
I mean, it kind of fits in with what Disney said about what their conversation about changing the ending of the film of Mary Poppins.
Is that they, we change, stuff in our real life, may not be perfect, but we can take some of those aspects of our real life and we can make it perfect, with our ability to tell a story and our ability to make it the way we want it to be, because with our imagination.
I don't. She didn't actually flat out say she liked it though.
Well, I mean, you could tell that she was emotionally impacted.
I know she was impacted by that because, again, this is all linked to her father. They even show clips of the flashbacks with her father throughout while they're showing the regular movie. I would imagine someone like her, though, even when Walt notices that she's getting upset, she brushes off and be like, oh, the animation's dreadful.
The other things my meaning is that it's implied that it had an impact on her emotionally, but in real life, she just said she hated it and that it was the most horrible experience ever.
Well, even then, I don't think she would admit it. She doesn't seem like the type of person.
Oh yeah, she probably wouldn't admit that in real life anyway. It's just,
I will say though, I found it a bit hard to believe when when those Sherman brothers finally win her over with that one song.
No, let's fly a kite.
Let's fly a kite.
Because it was a nice scene. It was nice to finally see her loose,
Yeah,
not be a
probably-
bitch for once, but it seemed kind of weird, especially since.
Too whimsical.
I know, it's a Disneyism. It's just weird because part of the thing with when she said she would never work with Disney again was when they approached her about the musical stage version. She said that she wanted nobody from Disney to be involved with the stage production, particularly the Sherman Brothers.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
seeing that scene in the movie, it's like, well, they won her over with their music, but apparently not enough to keep it that way.
Yeah, it did seem, I guess, to build up for that too. But I don't know. Honestly, it's hard for me to look at it as objectively because of how much I loved Mary Poppins as a little kid, and I just cannot. It's hard for me to pretend that it isn't a factor. When it comes to films based on true stories, I do sometimes tend to have problems in terms of accuracy.
That they're going to
there's going to be changes.
Yeah, and the Butler, right?
Yeah. Well, I also, I saw Joy Noel, and it's a beautifully done film. I can't, say for the accuracy of it, But
It's just-
when you get down to brass tacks, that's how these people would act. That's
It's
how
just-
how
And
they
sometimes
experience
though,
it.
like for example, The Butler, I really hated that movie a lot because of how much just the stuff they changed and the reasons they changed it were purely for the sake of to make it more inspirational. Like the part about him growing up in a cotton farm in the South, that didn't happen. He never had a son who died in Vietnam. His other son was not part of his other actual son, because it was never part of the Black Panther movement.
We call it the forced peach conflict, to quote Nostalgia Chick, where you add drama for the sake of drama.
Yeah, adding drama. And then there are other based on true story films, for example, Good Night and Good Luck, in which is mostly very, very accurate to the point where they use actual news footage and actual stuff. Like they took the original footage and put it in the film, and that film is reportedly much more accurate. But with this one, while the stuff that they did change, it was in order to make drama, present more emotion. It seems like it went more with this consistent. It meant more for the sake of the theme in the movie rather than just to win awards.
Yeah.
I will say though, there was one scene in there that kind of disturbed me, and I don't know whether it's true or not. The scene where her mother tries to kill herself.
That one, that one I don't know if that happened. I haven't done that much
That
research.
one looks like it was something that they stuck
I
in there.
think
something
That's what
very
I
drama.
know. That's what I kind of noticed too. I'm just like, wait,
And-
that is actually happening?
I know, and plus it's a Disney film, like they're really gonna show a suicide in a Disney film?
Yeah, because that's sort of the funny thing is of all the things I would expect Disney to make up for the sake of emotion, suicide isn't one of them.
Yeah, I know they've shown like murder and stuff like that.
oh,
but-
yeah,
The only thing I know is that the relationship between her mother and her father wasn't the best because of his father's drinking problem. But I don't know if she committed suicide. I would need
Or
to do more
attempted to.
research.
Or attempted to.
Attempted to commit suicide. I don't know about that, and that's something I would need to double check.
I also want to call. I don't know. I sort of my suspension of disbelief was gone at this one point when they find out what her real name is.
That I don't know how Walt Disney found that out.
Yeah, I really had to call some bullshit on that
That
because
was-
I don't know how the hell
The
he
internet
could
of
know
the
all that. I mean,
There was
does
no
he-
internet. It's not like
does
they
he
say, oh,
know
by the way.
people
mean,
who would have that kind of information?
Here's the thing. I
Or be able to
did.
dig
The way
that?
he found out about her real name, remember, was from getting her old tickets.
Yes, that I believe. Yes,
I think
but
that the whole thing about his suspicions about it coming from her father, I can sort of guess maybe he put it together by how much she would talk about her father and related to the father in Mary Poppins. I think I can sort of picture him putting the pieces together and coming up with that himself. But that is kind of flimsy. I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
Maybe Tom Hanks is going into his Robert Langdon Robert Langdon mode, where he's like, aha, I see the symbolism and I put it together. No,
Because Walt Disney did seem like he was a very in this movie
Very
at least,
bright man.
very
Very
bright,
bright,
but also a
yeah.
very personable person, like the kind of
Yes.
person who would think that hard about a person's personal life. I'm saying we're person way too much.
You say. I mean,
You need a
see,
thesaurus.
You see that in the beginning when Mrs. Travers comes into the Disney studio and everybody's trying to call her by her first name, but she's like, no, it's Mrs. Travers, and everything is a first name basis. And I work for a company where it's everything is on a first name basis. You call your bosses by your first name, not so much by Mr. or Mrs.
I just hate it when people do that, to be honest. They have to become probably it's Mr. Smith, and it's like, really, asshole? Come on. Also, I don't understand why she called herself Mrs. Travers, considering she never married.
I don't know.
Was she not married?
I don't think she was.
I thought she
No.
was.
I know she had an adopted son, but I don't think she ever married.
I don't think so either.
I have no idea.
But I
That's
really
kinda
want.
weird.
But I really want to get. But since
Unless
we're-
that was just part of her pen name.
Yeah.
Probably.
I really want to go back to with Disney and Tom Hanks' portrayal as Walt Disney, because that was the big thing.
That
It's
is an image I could imagine Disney crafting for Walt Disney, because if there's anything I've read about Walt Disney, while he was a genuinely nice person, I think he was a pretty formal businessman.
oh yeah,
I couldn't, like, I'm pretty sure the whole first names thing for, like, in this movie, I don't think he actually did that much.
Well, he liked to be known as Uncle Walt.
He did,
You
but
know,
I
he
mean,
liked
in
having
the work,
that friendly image.
yeah, but in the workplace, I mean, in the work process, from what I've read, he was a very formal and actually kind of sleepy businessman, so.
Yeah, I also have to kind of, I'm not quite as sure that he would, I mean, on the one hand, I would believe that he'd have pre-written autographs,
I think
but I don't think he'd be as quick to like just go around.
Actually, I think he did do that.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, I think.
I
he
don't
did.
believe it. A
I
man
can
of his
believe it.
status.
He
you know.
did. I mean, because the issue was like having to sign so many, and he knew he was a very popular guy, and he
Yeah,
wanted
but I mean-
he wanted to keep up the friendly image.
Yeah,
so.
but I mean, in this case, I felt he would have kind of dropped it, seeing as he was kind of there on business.
I
Sort of.
I can't
Loosely,
really
yeah.
speak on behalf of this particular trip to Disneyland with Peel Travers if he did that, but from what I've read, he actually did do that.
Okay, well, yeah, I don't doubt that he actually took her to Disneyland. I'm just saying, I don't know if he would have been in the kind of behavior that he would have been in there.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, I did.
I gotta say, I really enjoyed the scenes where when she first goes into like the places that are all like owned and decorated by Disney, and they have the logo and the stuffed animals and all this merchandise all over the place, and she just looks around in horror. She's
And
like,
you're like, what the hell is
no,
this?
no.
She even picks up Winnie the Pooh. It's like, sorry, AA milk.
And and at the very end there was Mickey who she just like put in the corner looking the other direction.
And then there's
then
that
later
whole symbolism with Mickey with the Mickey.
Yes, yeah, I
Yeah.
noticed that. They do show that quite a
It's
bit.
like you see, it's really symbolic of her relationship with Disney and how, the closer she gets, the more her barrier starts to deteriorate.
because I can picture it. Well, because the symbolism with just the Mickey Mouse is that because that was Walt Disney's biggest creation. They said,
That was Walt Disney.
Walt Disney's
Honestly,
creation.
my favorite
And like
speech in the movie.
he didn't want to give it up to some other person back in the day, and he wanted to keep his own creation, kind of going up side by side with what P.L. Travers went through in the movie, giving up Mary Poppins to Disney. So her, like taking the doll, just shoving it in the closet, and then later, like,
No,
snuggling it.
with the Mickey Mouse doll, though, she takes that and puts it against the wall
puts
facing
it-
the other way, which
Puts it
I
in the
feel
corner.
is
That's
rather
right.
very symbolic of her.
Really,
I love he puts him down just like, now you stay there till you tone yourself down.
But I mean, it's really, how it's like, I'm not going to look you in the face, and I'm not going
Well, I
to.
will say my favorite speech that Tom Hanks did as Walt Disney movie was when he was talking about the story about not selling the Mickey Mouse character, how much it meant to
Yes.
him, because I think that story is true about the selling, about the possible transaction of selling Walt Disney character, but I could honestly believe Walt Disney saying that speech. Like that was one of obviously the ways that obviously like the movie make it grand and awesome, but I can imagine Walt Disney having that kind of connection with his character like that. Because you could tell, one thing I will say about Disney as a company, as a studio, they do love the characters they create a lot. And of course it's they're selling toys, you can always be cynical, like, oh, they're trying to sell toys.
Except for Mortimer. They don't care for Mortimer.
Yeah, but they do care about the characters they create. That's why they care. That's why they do so much with them. Is because they want to see them grow. Aside from making more secret money, of course. But I could believe Walt Disney having that kind of genuine love for Mickey Mouse to the point where he would not sell him.
Well, he already had to give up his first creation, Oswald the Rabbit, and naturally Mickey was, something all his own, so there's no way he would part with that after being part of his first creation.
And I think that speech kind of gave the impression of what kind of person P.L. Travers was dealing with. That this was a person who, like her, genuinely loved this character, who was his baby, that sort of showed like that he could really understand, that he could to an extent understand how much like she is her reservations.
And what's even greater about it is, that she greatly underestimates just how much he actually understands Mary Poppins. Like, she keeps trying to call his bluff, and he comes right back and he's like, I really know what Mary Poppins is about. I know what she's really doing.
Have you guys read any of the Mary Poppins books?
I have not.
No, I
read the first
I
couple.
found them and I looked. I kind of skimmed through them. Like I saw pictures of the nanny with the kids, and she always had this uptight, snooty
Oh
expression.
god, yes. I read the first couple books, and honestly, I kind of like the changes because they made her, in the book, she was very strict, very vain, kind of, I don't want to say cruel, but kind of a, stick up on this, kind of a bitch, and she was only really nice when she was around her friends. I guess you can sort of, I mean, I can't really speak on, I liked it as a kid, but I could definitely say that I preferred the changes a bit more because it was a bit more because in the movie she was strict, but more in a way that wasn't mean. It was more like, I'm not going to disrespect your intelligence, but I am going to tell you what to do.
So one of the Sherman brothers passed away a few years ago, like you said, and the one living one, he actually, for this movie, was the music consultant. Thomas Newman did the main score, but for the consulting stuff, when they actually use the stuff from the actual Mary Poppins movie, he was the consultant for that. So it's actually smart that they got that, so that way they can intertwine. The whole
Birds was just as emotional as it was in Mary Poppins.
yeah.
I teared up.
And they used
And the
tend to use
introduction
that a lot.
and the ending with the
Yeah.
oh my god, I was very choked up.
It's one of the few movies for me where it'll actually where it teared me up, and I actually did almost kind of teared up near the end.
There are only select, very, very, very select movies where I can honestly say I teared up. Marley and Me, Toy Story 3.
Yeah,
I cry every
I
time.
cried.
Yeah,
The
Story
Wrestler, and this one. It takes a lot. And
Lord of the Rings: Return of the King.
This one.
Well, the very ending,
But
it's
it didn't.
The
I
ending
can't really
went on
say it
too
didn't
long.
feel manipulative in a way
Yeah.
because you could tell the placement of the music was, it was in a specific place, of course, which is what you want to do. I can't say it's manipulative because it does feel very
No.
genuine, but I don't know. It just made me want to rewatch Mary Poppins again, and
Yes.
just because I haven't, even though I love that, I haven't seen that movie in such a long time. There was one joke I think they could have made, and I don't think they made it. Dick Van, when she was talking about how she just always ridiculous that they're casting Dick Van Dyke in it, I'm surprised they didn't make any jokes about the accent.
You're doing a movie set in London, and you cast an American actor. And
Yeah.
granted, he's a good actor, he's a great comedic actor and everything, but he's still an American actor
Yeah.
in a British setting, and that's kind of weird. And we
He's
obviously
no
heard.
Carrie, he's no Carrie Ellis, but
I know we obviously heard how his accent came out.
Yeah.
So I could sympathize with that, where she was coming from. I could not sympathize when she's like, "Oh, Dick Van Dyke, yeah, he's not one of the greats." It's like, lady, fuck you.
I'm surprised they didn't mention the Dick Van Dyke show that was still
Yeah.
going on at the time.
I don't know.
Well, who knows if it was shown in England at all?
Some American television does make it.
I don't know if it was. I did watch Dick Van Dyke.
Then again, I don't think it was necessary to mention it.
Is it, in terms of the performances, is that Emma Thompson is definitely
Yes.
spot on.
Fantastic.
Yes.
She made you hate her yet sympathize with her at the same time.
And I think, she had a pretty good balance of being bitchy without being unlikable.
Yeah.
Although I gotta say, the relationship between her and Ralph is, I do buy it and I don't buy it at the same time.
Well, Giamatti's part.
Yeah.
Paul Giamatti.
Like, I get that, he softened her, but I didn't feel there was enough of that connection between them to warrant the way that they went and to become such friends.
It's one of those relationships where, Party A doesn't want to associate with anyone. Party B wants to do all they can to please Party A. And Party A will not have any of it, but then Party B starts to work on them a little more and, get under their skin a bit, and then they become like that.
Yeah, but in this case, it's they bond a little bit, but not enough for her to be quite as affectionate to him as she was.
I think that if they were trying to like use that relationship as a way to show how she's helping out, it could be a tad more subtle. Like having her say like, "Oh, one of the few Americans I don't like," I think that was a bit forced. Like that one, like at that point, if she had maybe just the line where she gives him a list of names of people who are handicapped and still successful, that would I think have made the connection a lot more believable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But having her say you're like one of the few Americans I don't hate, I thought that was a bit much.
And then there's Tom Hanks, and of course he was the one I was worried about most of all. Like, I love Tom Hanks as an actor. I've loved him in almost everything I've seen him in. I was nervous about this because I grew up, watching clips of Walt Disney, and he's like one of those icons where like you really can't replicate it because you're always gonna hold him up here, and everyone else is gonna be like down here. In terms of his performance, for the most part, he looked the role. I mean, he still looks like Tom Hanks, which is kind of distracting. But when he was acting, like, the parts where he was acting like, good old Uncle Walt, he's acting with all this whimsy and magic and childhood play.
It seemed a little underplayed.
Yeah, like, it was a little underplayed, but that was the time I believed it the most. That's where I would generally believe, yes, this is how Walt would probably charm people over, because that's, he was a charmer.
Yeah.
It's when he would get frustrated or mad or something, that's when it kind of reverted back to Tom Hanks.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know, because here's the thing, with me and Walt Disney, I mean, like I said before, I have never really watched much Disney TV show. I did watch a lot of Disney movies, but not really any TV shows, except for Gargoyles. And most of my perception of Walt Disney came from two places. Either A, what people have said about him being very whimsical, being very the Uncle Walt dude. So the parts about him being frustrated, I didn't really see a problem with that because I could imagine a businessman like Walt Disney who's trying his best to make everything very like a joyful atmosphere, constantly having to deal with travelers. I can imagine him getting frustrated, and I think that those moments it sort of showed him less as because what my bigger concern was the movie made by Disney's portrayal of Walt Disney. I wanted it to be actually Walt Disney, not Disney's Walt Disney. And I think the parts of him getting frustrated sort of showed that this is Walt Disney. This isn't Disney's Walt Disney.
Mm-hmm. I know, and that's the thing that I was concerned of. How do I know this isn't Disney's Walt Disney as opposed to just, the real, Walt Disney as a human being? And I think that's smart that they actually decided to show that side, make it a little bit, make it a lot more.
I guess I expected him to put on a little more of a face than he did, because someone like Walt Disney, who again is very persuasive and very good at getting what he wants, because I thought he kind of showed his frustration a little too early, like. Like how some people, when they're so good at squeezing people, and then they run into like that really hard cookie, and then they'll at first show a little hesitant, and be like that sort of. I expected him to do more of that for a little bit of the movie before he starts fully showing, how frustrated he is. Because again, it falls to the battle of wills.
But he did point out that he's been contacting this woman for the last 20 years.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the first time they ever met face to face. He would have shown.
But also remember, like this sort of contacting for 20 years. It's not like our idea of contact for 20 years where. I'm guessing more from a psychological perspective, when you're able to sort of like send email or do things much faster nowadays and 20 years.
It probably would not be as, face to face.
Yeah, like this was, like this time, she showed that this was the first time that she met him face to face, so this was the first face-to-face reaction. But if this has been going on for 20 years, you have to go through lawyers, you have to go through other people, you have to send letters, this is across England and the United States. I'd be pretty pissed. I would, if Walt Disney was genuinely that nice still and that ability to schmooze and everything despite having 20 years with this person and he only got that frustrated, good on him. Better person than I am.
I just figured, given that he went through the trouble of bringing her over and setting her up and everything, he'd have a little more tricks up his sleeve for trying to smooth her over before showing that, he's really, losing it now.
The tape was kind of funny.
Not to mention finding out, going back to finding out her real name. She's like, did we get the right person?
I think that was
I think if anybody in any other situation, you would have called them out on it. You would have called bullshit. You might have even, used that against them.
Honestly, I think that that line I thought was a joke. Like, did we get the right person? I thought he was just joking.
Well, no, when he said I was talking to the wrong person, he meant that he was talking to the face, like the fake author. He wasn't talking to the real person. And that's what he should have been doing, is digging deep down. Instead, he was talking to someone who was putting on a facade.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
But and then I also really enjoyed the Sherman Brothers too.
Oh,
Like, they
yeah,
were
they
a
were-
lot of fun,
You're right, Joe.
Oh yes.
and they looked a lot like them too.
Yeah, they did.
I liked, was it Jason Schwartzman?
Yeah, Jason
Right?
Schwartzman
Yeah.
was one of them.
And then a real surprise, Colin Farrell as the father.
You did a good job.
Yeah.
That surprised me because I was looking at him thinking, he looks so familiar. He looks like Colin Farrell, but he can't be. And then I said, I was like, holy shit, it is him.
He
Oh my
was-
god, he knows how to act.
He was acting like he was in a different movie, in my opinion.
Huh?
Yeah, he sort of acting, in my opinion. I thought that he was like maybe acting in a completely different movie. Like he was given like not the same script as everybody else. Like he was given one script, and then the like Tom Hanks and Emma Thompson, they were given the full thing, but he was only given like part of the script that he was like. I feel like he was almost told that he was in a completely different movie.
Well, it would make sense because
because they are essentially like two different movies.
Yeah, exactly.
So they because they got like one crew filming one thing, and you got another crew filming the other bits. So it's like it essentially is like two different movies.
Yeah, he did a fantastic job.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
I hope he gets nominated.
He said, it was a surprise for me because I'm used to seeing him in crap.
Wasn't he in Seven Psychopaths?
I didn't say that.
That was Colin Firth.
That was Colin Firth.
That was Colin Firth. My bad.
Yeah, so that was a pleasant surprise. So yeah, I really did enjoy a lot of the performances in this, and there was a lot of heart and soul. Like you will go in and leave with the feels big time. If you ever, ever were the type of, if you were in a profession where you were like telling a story, whether it was through writing or through making movies or anything like that, like you will understand where they're coming from, and you of course see all the connections and the symbolism, the parallels between everything that goes on, and it's just like so beautiful.
And of course, it's also that that real, dealing with difficult people sort of theme going on. It's like that we all have to do, but we have to put that nice face on.
We've all had to work with that one asshole who's very insanely tough to work with, whether it's in school or work or something, where you know where you need to get something done, but this other person is just, for whatever reason,
just being so
being a pain in the
difficult.
ass.
They're not giving an inch at all.
Yeah,
But you still got to work with them. You still got to get something done regardless.
I think that this would be a good movie for anybody who either has works with a group of people, whether it's in movie production or writing or something. I think that this is a movie that they would find a lot. They would be able to apply a lot to themselves if you were going to create a movie on it.
Yes.
I gotta say, I thought it was hilarious some of the things that she harped on.
I don't like the color red.
I don't know why, but I'm feeling very anti-red. And one of the Sherman Brothers is wearing red.
I swear to God, I'm going to find those tapes to see if she actually said that. Part of me thinks that she did. I don't know why. Part of me thinks that she did because
Red is in the movie.
Yeah,
very much so. In fact, there's a scene in the original Mary Poppins where she's wearing a complete red coat.
That's the thing.
That's a big fuck you to Trevor.
That's the thing. I'm hoping that she actually said that because that would be the reason why at one point Mary Poppins is completely wearing red just to be a big middle finger, which is honestly kind of sad when you think about it too. Yeah, I would say also try to find the tapes because clearly they exist. They were in this movie. They might be interesting.
Probably it's on YouTube somewhere.
YouTube or archive.com or something.
Or probably, maybe they're on the DVDs that have been released.
Well, they probably will be once this movie comes out on DVD.
Yeah, I mean, I know the most recent Mary Poppins are the 50th anniversary or the 60th or something.
It was it was the 50th anniversary.
That just came out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they did recently re-release it on DVD and I think Blu-ray, so it could very well be that they include uncut footage. So you never know. Keep an eye out.
Yeah, so definitely, as a Disney person, I would say Mr. Banks is definitely one of the best Disney movies this year. Like, I don't know how to compare it to Frozen, given that they're two completely different movies. But I would maybe put Mr. Banks a little higher than Frozen, just because it has more heart and everything in it. But in terms of live action, this is the best Disney one this year. And in terms of animation, Frozen's the best Disney one this year. So definitely watch it.
Yeah. I would say, I'm speaking not as the biggest Disney person in the world. It's a very interesting film about working in production, working with a creative medium with others. It's a very, and also as a person who loved Mary Poppins as a kid, and now, still love the movie now. It's a very, very great movie that I would highly recommend watching.
Yes.
That's the one thing I forgot to mention before is the fact that, and I know this is weird coming from me, but I actually did not grow up with Mary Poppins. I knew all the musical numbers. I knew all the musical numbers. I knew all the animation bits, but for whatever reason, I never actually owned it. My dad would get all the Disney movies for me on bootleg, but it was usually only the animated stuff he paid attention to.
Yeah.
So I didn't see Mary Poppins in full until I was about probably a teenager, like early adult or whatever, and I did not like it at first, just because I thought Mary Poppins was way too stuck up. I thought the children were boring, the parents didn't make sense, and some of the animation bits went on way too long for my liking.
Yeah, that's the criticism I'll give you, the animation bits in Mary Poppins.
Yeah, but
everything else I disagree with.
But once I rewatched it again when I was a little older, I started to see more and more, what people loved about it so much, and I started to really like it. It's not among my top favorites by any means, but after watching this film, I've actually really gained an appreciation for that movie, and it kind of changes my perspective of watching it a bit, just to see this is the product of 20 plus years of work to make a movie that grand. So yeah, I definitely say I probably would put the movie a little higher on my list now just because of this.
Yeah.
And you guys?
Well, I would have seen more movies with you guys this year, but as far as best movies that I've seen, I'm now stuck in between either Star Trek Into Darkness or Saving Mr. Banks as far as best movie that I've seen this year, because they're both really good. But I will say Saving Mr. Banks does have a little bit more heart. Star Trek Into Darkness was a little bit more. I liked it. It was pretty good, action and writing and whatnot. But I think this one it gets you right here, and that's what that's I think what it was that it really did get me right here, and and the fact that it was one of the few movies where I almost cried. It almost did cry. In fact, if I probably see it again, I'll probably be bawling. But
I was crying a little bit. I wouldn't put this film.
I had one manly tear.
I wouldn't put this film, I think, on my favorites list. It's just, I don't know. It just, I can't, considering the other films I would have my favorite, I do have my favorites list. I wouldn't really put this one on. But I will still, my favorite movie of 2013, I will still say is Gravity. But I still think that this is a fantastic film. That as long as you can sort of not let the things that they did make up, such as the ending, obviously Disney-fied movie, it's Disney, and be as a film about compromise in the creative production process, I would say I would still say watch this movie. And right after, you can I think that's sort of for people who maybe haven't seen Mary Poppins as much when they watch it, I'm guessing. Just show how much went into making it, just how much how much Walt Disney had to go through just to get the rights to make this movie, how much P.L. Travers had to sacrifice and compromise to get into this, to make this movie that, well, I love and other people love, a reality. It honestly makes you look at Mary Poppins in a very different way. And that's why I think this movie does really well. There's a sense of just respect for Mary Poppins that I think is demonstrated in this film.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I have still yet to see Mary Poppins in its entirety. So,
Really?
yeah,
What is with you people and not watching Mary Poppins?
Thing is, I saw it when I
ones who saw it all the way through?
I saw it when I was when I was really young. So I don't think I paid a lot of attention to it. Probably, and I think some of it is for the same reasons Kat didn't. But I mean, I saw bits and pieces of it later on, and I've been listening to the music from it, and it seems very long. That is one thing that would turn me against
It's long,
it.
but the pacing.
But that aside, I think this was a very beautifully done movie. All liberties aside, I thought it paints a good picture of her past, of the past, of them dealing with this difficult woman. But they really, really want this. It's like, I mean, for God's sakes, Walt Disney himself says, oh, if I just wanted it as another brick in my empire, I would have just, tossed you out right then and there after all this. But he's like, no, I really want to make this movie. I really like the story.
I do want to bring up one important thing, though, as we're talking about Gail Travers. I do want to stress, though, that this Gail Travers is not like an antagonist in this movie. There isn't any.
No, she's the protagonist.
She's the protagonist.
She is the.
What I mean is like.
You don't mean she's the villain.
Yeah, like she's not presented.
Yeah.
She's not like a mean. I wouldn't call her mean. I wouldn't call her like vindictive or anything. Just as a person who is insane, who is very strict, very stubborn, not the best to work with, very overconfident. I just wanted to stress that out because I didn't want it to seem like they were painting her out as this, I don't know, like devil woman or something.
No, but I mean that's pretty much, you can already see that because they show you all these things from her past to make you sympathize to see why she's like this.
I just wanted to stress that.
Yeah, why she would be acting the way she is. But yeah, so yeah, I guess if I was on the fence about this, but I'd say my top favorite movies of 2013, and I'm amending the list as of tonight. Because after seeing this film, I'd say my favorite top three would be Much Ado About Nothing, Despicable Me 2, and Saving Mr. Banks. The two worst were Man of Steel and Iron Man 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Iron Man 3.
Yeah.
In the meantime, though, I'm Cat T. Critic.
I'm Win Satmore.
I'm Y2 Staller.
I'm Josh Gutman. I don't have a name to make up.
It's whatever.
It's whatever.
And we're here live from MadFest. Shut up.
Okay.
Let's go fly a kite up to the highest height. Let's go fly a kite and send it soaring up through the atmosphere, up where the air is clear. Oh, let's go fly a kite.